people, they are like in a relationship with where they are born. They think, okay, they're born there, they have to die there, but it's not really true. I just figured out you should go to where you're treated best. When I was finished with school, then I started DJing, and I was like a DJ, and I was like playing all the big clubs in Germany, and it was nice. But I realized, okay, this is not a sustainable lifestyle. Fiat money keeps us trapped in a hurry of working, consuming, spending, working, consuming, spending, dying. You think if I achieve this goal, then I have peace. If I achieve this goal, then I have love. If I achieve this, then I have wealth. But it's already there, but you cannot see it because you're always doing things. And by doing things, you're screwing things up, and therefore you're not realizing. Because nowadays we have to work like overtime, 2 jobs, 3 jobs, 4 jobs. And this was not the case before 1971. The money is type of the root of the problem. And if you fix the root, then everything else gets fixed. I'm not like saying that you have to change the world, because you can just change yourself, be an example for yourself, and by being an example, you will change the world around you. I came here for Bitcoin, but I stayed not for Bitcoin, I stayed for the nature, I stayed for the papayas, I stayed for the energy, and it's really like this transforming place, and that's what's attracting me to El Salvador.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to a podcast, I guess. I got Marc here. Marc from Bitcoin Hotel.
Yes.
I met Marc walking down Playa Cocal a few days ago, and it was a great conversation, and I figured to invite him on and get to hear his story on how he ended up here in El Salvador. So Marc, thanks for coming.
I'm glad to be here, and I'm super inspired by what you're doing, and let's do it.
All right, awesome. So I guess we'll start off with your origin story. Where are you from?
I'm from Germany, so born in Germany, raised in Germany, German like from the beginning, and I also was all my life in Germany. And just like a year or 2 years ago, I decided to decentralize my life a bit more, because I realized my job is in Germany, my bank account is in Germany, my passport is in Germany, my history is in Germany, everything is in Germany. And as a Bitcoiner, you realize that the more decentralized the system is, the more anti-fragile it is, so the harder it is to attack it. And then I realized, okay, I have to do this with my lifestyle too. I have to start to build like a foundation around the world, so having different companies around the world, bank accounts, money which is decentralized, having a decentralized lifestyle. And anyway, like in Germany and in Europe, like the perspective is not that good anymore, in my view. There's lots of things not going so good. And why not join a country which is treating you better? So lots of people, they are like in a relationship with where they are born. They think, okay, they're born there, they have to die there. But it's not really true. I just figured out, okay, you should go to where you're treated best. And I figured out I'm not treated best in Europe anymore. They don't like to have like inspiring people like you who want to build. They are basically destroying all the companies. Companies are fleeing off Europe. The taxation is pretty high. Bureaucracy is high. So why not go to El Salvador? And I'm pretty happy here. I'm also not like I'm not like 100% dedicated. So I'm like sometimes here, sometimes in other countries. So I'm like basically a decentralized being.
So this is fascinating. This is really actually incredible. So you're like living out the life of a kind of sovereign Bitcoin individual, you know? And so there's actually a lot to unpack there. So I think like the first thing to unpack is kind of like, have you heard of the idea of flag theory?
Yes, that's basically what I'm doing. So you're setting different flags around the world. So for example, bank accounts are fine. My German bank account is, for example, nice, but I also have bank accounts in the US, because sometimes it's better to have it in the US, because in the EU they are censoring it. Then you have, for example, another flag, which is like the country where you're living. So for example, for living, I like El Salvador, but let's say for my company, it's better to have it in the US, because the conditions over there are better than in El Salvador. So I figured it out, I checked it out. So for your money, probably Bitcoin is everywhere. So it's definitely decentralized. And so you're just figuring out, okay, where are you treated best? And really you can have like the combination of lots of different countries and use their pros and their cons, because all countries, they have pros and they have cons. and there is not like the best country in the world or something like that, but you're just setting something together which fits best for you.
Is this just the way things are now because
Yeah.
of the internet, because of flight travel?
Yes.
Is this just the way, the proper way to set up your life if you want to maintain some sense of freedom now?
Yes, I think if we go 100 years more in the future, and if people look back, they will think, oh, how stupid are they? There's like a map, and then there's lines in the map, and if you're like 1 meter on the right side of the map, there are different rules than on the left side. And I think this will just break up, and Bitcoin will be a big part of it. Also, like, it will take the power of the government, it would take the power of the state, because if we have money which is not controlled by a state or a central bank, and if this spreads, and it's spreading, it indefinitely will spread more, if people realize that they don't have to make themselves so vulnerable by taking the state money, but they can just take money which is outside of the state. If this is like more adopted, then automatically the states will have less impact on the people. They cannot govern them so hard. And so basically this whole concept of having like a map, and there are lines in the map, and there is different rules on each side of the map, this will just completely break out. And there's even like theories of Balaji. He's talking about the network state, where you're having like decentralized type of organizations, and Bitcoin is the best type of example, because Bitcoin is basically a decentralized type of organization. It brings together people who are completely different. One guy is black, one guy is like Chinese, the other guy is from Japan, and they come together and they speak like almost the same language, because Bitcoin is a universal language. So this unites them, but it does not depend on where they're originally from. So it's just like a decentralized protocol that connects people around the world. And I think what's happening with Bitcoin will also happen with different parts of life.
Wow. So I can hear the passion in your voice, and it's super inspirational. It reminds me of like the magic of El Salvador, is that you get to have these conversations with people, because it, like you said, Bitcoin, it overlaps with so many parts of society and so many different cultures, right? It creates a unified, like, monetary language in which people can now interact with in an honest way, and right? And so, so over here in El Salvador, you're kind of getting that as well. You're getting all these different people coming here, converging in El Salvador with so many different backgrounds and unique ideas, but all kind of still anchored to like some sort of principle just through the Bitcoin ethos. Do you see that as well?
Yes, exactly. It's the layer which connects us, because if I know you're a Bitcoiner, then I don't have to like talk a lot around. I know that the basic principles I propose, or the basic principles I believe in, are the basic principles you believe. So we believe, for example, that doing transaction out of doing, I don't know the English word, but doing like freedom type of transaction is better than like robbing other people the money. Or let's say
we believe that money printing is wrong.
For example, or we believe that it's better to have like a free market than to have a central bank which manipulates the money. So there is like,
you also believe in distributed power to some extent.
Exactly.
There's like other factors that go into to the overlap between Bitcoin principles and how one person lives their life. And so you can tell a lot about a person if they're into Bitcoin. At least, 50, 60%, you guys are on the big things, you guys are on similar wavelengths.
Yes. And then there is differences. One guy is eating fruit and the other guy is eating beef and whatever, and it's fine, because that's also like the expression of humankind, because we are individuals. And this is also the problem, that nowadays, I mean, we have this collectivism, so everyone has to wear the same, everyone has to think the same, everyone gets the same teaching in the school. So we're having like basically indoctrination machines. So in the school, you go there not to learn something, but to be like implanted with some type of things you should believe. So they don't teach you how to be a sovereign individual. They don't teach you how to make money, to earn money, to keep your money, to grow wealth. They teach you basically to be addicted to a state, or to be addicted to like central bank money or whatever, but they're not like giving you the tools you need to be like a self-sovereign individual. And I think just Bitcoin breaks like this whole thing, because people now, they have more time for themselves, because they don't have to work that much anymore, because nowadays we have to work like overtime, 2 jobs, 3 jobs, 4 jobs, and this was not the case before 1971.
Can I say something here?
Yeah.
That's the case, right? So Bitcoin allows you over time to save, the productive value of your labor, right? Or your contribution to society. There's another aspect to that as well that I think is important to mention in a similar regard, because maybe, some people didn't get rich quick with Bitcoin, and they're just hodling and saving and using it as a way to preserve their capital, right? And I will tell you that there's a certain peace of mind in that, in knowing that there's only going to be 21 million, that the protocol is decentralized, that everyone's, there's nodes all over the world, and there's mining all over the world. And so, like, to be able to save your capital in an asset, even though it's not like going 10x in a year, that peace of mind is still worth a lot.
Yeah, and it will work also like in 100 years, in 200 years, and in 300 years. And that's the thing. I mean, don't get confused with Bitcoin being like a getting quick rich scheme, because that's not even necessary. Because all you basically need is something where you can preserve your money without someone taking this type of energy or this type of money or this type of purchase, exactly, the life force out of it. So basically, it's the first type of money battery which is not lacking. Before, we always had like our money type of battery, and it was always lagging. And in some countries it was lagging a lot, so you had like a big inflation. In some countries it was not that much. And it's also so hard for people to realize, because the state is not coming with the pistol and saying, give me all your money, but he's like slowly taking like the life force out of your life. And most people, they don't realize it.
It's insidious. It's sneaky.
Yeah, most people don't.
A sneaky devil.
Yeah, exactly. Most people don't realize it. And also they realize something is wrong. Why do I have to work more? Why is it getting harder? Why is there the spread between rich and poor? Why is it getting harder? Why are people profiting which are super close to the money printer? And why am I not profiting and I'm not super close to the money printer? So they realize there is something wrong. There's something
that doesn't add up.
Yeah, but they cannot figure it out, because it's an invisible force which is basically keeping them not in their own power, but which is keeping them like trapped in a rat race.
Man, well said. I mean, it's when I found out about it, right, about how the money worked, I got mad.
Yes.
Like, I got infuriated, like I wanted to punch the wall, because I was like, I thought about my mom, and I thought about all the people that work honest, honest day's wage.
Yes.
And this insidious, invisible force, like, literally siphons off the collective productive capital of the world and steals it, basically steals the purchasing power.
Yeah. And it gets even worse, because if you go in history, if you look like how this fiat type of money been growing up, then you will realize basically fiat money is an invention to fund wars. And if you find out about this, that Bitcoin basically makes war unaffordable. I'm not saying there is like no war, but imagine with Bitcoin, the government cannot just fund like big war machinery. They have to fund a war out of savings. They have to fund a war out of economic growth. But this is not possible in a war type of scenario.
Or taxes.
Yeah, or taxes, yeah.
And then people feel that right away. They're like, hold up, wait, I don't support this war.
Yes.
Like, I got to pay for this myself. But yeah, when you print money, like, all of that kind of gets hidden through the system.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's basically just a clever way to make endless wars. So that's basically also why they catch Julian Assange, because Julian Assange was the first guy who spoke about this truth, and then also he was censored and he found Bitcoin, because he was speaking about, okay, states actually have the incentive to always be like in an endless war, to not let it escalate, but be like in an endless war, because then they can prop up the war machinery, and then the stocks go up, then the economy goes up, because if they make war, if they fight against each other, then they can build up again, then they can build war machinery, then they can destroy everything, build it up again, and this is creating in our modern sense economic power. This is like economic growth. If you just put bombs on something and then build it up again.
Let me tell you guys something. I met this guy the other day. The second time I'm talking to him. You know what I mean? And this is the cool thing about El Salvador. This is the magic about El Salvador. It's kind of what we were just talking about. Like you meet a fellow Bitcoiner and you're like right on that wavelength, and you can have real, deep, powerful conversations really quick. And speaking of, I want to kind of get into your journey here to El Salvador. So you're from Europe, from Germany.
Yes.
So what part of Germany, and what was your life there like?
Yeah, so I'm from the southern part of Germany, which I think is probably the most beautiful because it's the hottest over there. In the north, it's kind of cold, and I always like the sun. That's basically also one of the main reasons I'm here, because in Germany now it's winter, it's like freezing, and I don't think humans are used to be like in conditions like that. So in former times I did not think too much about it, but the older I got, the more I realized, okay, I have to go more into those sunny type of areas. And basically if you go like all the way back where this started, because basically my journey is pretty crazy, because actually, when I was finished with school, then I started DJing, and I was like a DJ, and I was like playing all the big clubs in Germany and whatever, and it was nice. But I realized, okay, this is not a sustainable lifestyle. And then at some point, I made like the complete switch, and we had like this family business in Germany. But I don't want it to be I don't want it to be in it, because I thought hotels just suck. So I just did like this DJ thing. And then at some point I realized, okay, it's not sustainable. It's nice for 1 or 2 years or something like that, but you cannot be like the whole night awake and being like in the clubs, and it's just super unnatural. So at that point I started to meditate. I started to go more into solitude. And then this brought me like in a 2-year retreat I spent in South France, where I basically had no iPhone, had no internet. I was super into nature. I was basically living in a cave. And this was like the complete reunion with nature and with the universe, because I realized like the big questions, like who are you, who is the consciousness who is realizing this thought, who is the consciousness who is speaking now, who is the consciousness who is experiencing everything. I realized that those are the questions which I have to give myself an answer, and I did not find the answer in the schools. I did not find it in books. So I just was looking out, okay, what are like other spiritual beings doing? They were spending time in caves alone, meditating, whatever. So this is basically what I did for 2 years. And this was really like one of the best decisions I did in my life.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man, there is so much to unpack, because I'm curious too, right? Like, I feel like that sometimes too. Like, I'm over here and I'm working towards goals and building something, a legacy over here. But it's a lot of work. It's probably the hardest work I've ever done in my life, right? And I get this calling to go out into solitude, to go out into nature and just decompress. I haven't acted on that calling, but you're saying it's the best.
I mean, if you don't do it, then basically your whole life is a lie.
Holy shit!
Because you're building on a fundament that is basically, you're building on sand. So you're building on a super weak fundament.
What do you do in that isolation?
It's not a.
Do you explore your psyche?
It's not about doing. It's about observing.
Okay.
Because people are so used to doing. They are doing this, that, and whatever. But the thing is, you really have to calm down your consciousness, your thoughts, your mind, and then all the answers will automatically pop up. So when you stop, for example, if you take like a glass, and if there is like mud inside, and people, they are always doing so, they're always like screwing the water around, and then the mud goes up, and the glass is like, you cannot see through the glass because everything is like super dark and muddy. But if you just stop like the doing, if you stop like taking the knife and screwing around in it, if you stop this, then what happens, the mud will automatically go down and sink to the bottom, and then everything will be clear. And it's the same with the mind. If you stop like hurrying, stressing, and doing like having like the big schedule and whatever, and just observing, and then you realize that everything is already fine. You don't have to achieve big things. You're already fine how you are. Everything is already there. The wisdom is there, the love is there, the peace is there. It was already inside, and you're always searching it in the world. You think, if I achieve this goal, then I have peace. If I achieve this goal, then I have love. If I achieve this, then I have wealth. But it's already there, but you cannot see it because you're always doing things. And by doing things, you're screwing things up, and therefore you're not realizing.
Yeah. You know, in the Bible it says, "Be still." You know, and so and same thing. Jesus, 40 days, 40 nights of solitude in the desert. So it's like, yeah, it's obvious, right? Like these are. I
mean, there is a super nice saying: do a lot, achieve nothing. Do less, achieve more. Do less, achieve more. Do nothing, achieve everything. And most people, they don't get this. They don't get this saying because
it's counterintuitive.
Yeah, because they think if I'm not doing, how can I achieve something? But that's not the point, because every human being has like an intuition. They have like the heart which is speaking to them, or they have like a higher guidance. So you don't have to worry about, oh, do I have this goal or whatever goal, because you have an inner guidance. And just by aligning yourself with this, you don't have to do anything, because everything is already done. So
So there's a really good point, because and this is something that I can relate to with my life.
Yes.
And the trajectories I've taken. And if I would have just been still, I wouldn't have been going the wrong way.
Yes.
I would have noticed that I was going the wrong way. So sometimes it's like the act of doing is actually taking you further away than where you're supposed to be. And sometimes you just need to be still in order to recognize that.
Yes, and there's a good example, because I was also lots of times in my life I was super into art. So for example, music or different types of arts. And what I realized, there is always this type of creative process, and at some point you're just fucking it up because you're doing too much. So the silence in the music is as important as the loud parts. And if you don't realize this in life, what you don't do is as important as what you do. So for example, if you don't kill other people, if you don't harm other people, if you're not like for example doing meaningless things, then already without even doing something, your life will be super meaningful. So you don't have to do so much. For example, there's also in investments, probably in your life, you just have to do 2 or 3 decisions in investing. One would be like to transform capital into Bitcoin, and probably in 10 years there's like another decision or something like that. But you don't have to trade, you don't have to do too much things. Basically, you just have to do like 2 or 3 decisions in your life, and that's basically it.
Amen.
It's the same with the job, and it's the same with family and everything.
And from a man with a lot of gray hairs, I can tell you, that's absolutely true. I made way too many decisions when I should have just made a few decisions.
Yes.
So, man, okay. So, Bitcoin hotel in Germany. What's going on in Europe? So
yes. So then, exactly. So then I was like in this retreat, and then at some point I realized, okay, there are other type of people, because in this period of my life I was not into money or whatever. I just didn't care, because I was in this type of awareness where I realized for every animal on the earth, they have enough to eat and everything is already there. And just we as humans, we think we have to always work to get something. And so this concept of money was super weird for me, because I was always realizing I have more than I ever needed. So this was just not on my consciousness. But then at some point, which was super actually confusing, I was in this retreat, and then I was looking around at some point, okay, are there different type of people who have different types of value, which I created in this type of retreat? Because I found out that basically simpleness is better than having like a complex life. Having like a minimalist lifestyle is way more happy, brings you way more happiness than having like a super weird, busy type of lifestyle.
Let me tell you something. Yeah. One of my objectives for 2026 is to simplify my life as much as possible. Simplify the bills, just simplify everything, because the more strings you got loose, it's the more you got more spaghetti you got in your head.
Yes, and this is what I realized there, and I also realized that I have like changed my time preference, so I'm looking like super long term, and before I was like more short term. But I was not into Bitcoin yet, and then I realized, okay, the Bitcoiners, they have actually similar type of values. So they have like a super low time preference, they are super long looking, they are like more minimalist, they are more conscious, they are more thoughtful, they question things, they don't just eat it, they just question, okay, why is this happening? So this was super inspiring for me. I thought there's another group which is thinking kind of similar than I'm doing. But then there was this weird thing because there were always this money part. And I didn't get the money part in the beginning because most of the people, they're coming from the money and staying for the freedom. But I came for this freedom and stayed for the money.
That is super interesting. So, yeah, okay. I came for the money. Well, I always tied money to freedom.
Yeah.
I always made that connection. So, how did you make that connection? Because it wasn't originally there.
Yeah, because then I realized, okay, what I'm doing, it's working for me. I can go into the cave and I can make like a super nice lifestyle, but it's not working like on a bigger scale. Because on a bigger scale, really what keeps our consciousness compressed is fiat money. Because fiat money keeps us trapped in a hurry of working, consuming, spending, working, consuming, spending, dying.
And why though?
Yeah, because in order to keep up the lifestyle we have to work more. So we have to get,
because the money's being debased.
Yeah,
and then because the money's being debased, we have to go in debt.
Exactly. And then we are trapped because people, banks, they can govern over us. And then we get more into trapped. And we see it in the US. I mean, if you look like how much they are into debt, it's super crazy. In Europe, it's not that crazy. But in the US, it's super, super crazy. And basically, it's a system where saving is not, where savers are losers and debtors are winners. So you have to go into debt in order to keep up with other companies, with other people. Because if they go into debt and you don't go into debt, you cannot compete with them. Because they will just outpace you because they have the money faster than you have. But on the other hand, you're trapped in the system. And I just realized, okay, this is completely rocking us. This is taking our time. This is taking our energy. This is compressing our consciousness. And then I realized if people have a tool to save, everything is growing up again. So they will question things again because they have more time to think. They will change their diet because they have more time to think. They will change their friends.
Because they think on a longer time preference as well. So being here in El Salvador gave me a very clear understanding of how important, I guess, time preferences and basic survival conditions, right? Because when you're, besides the money being debased, but when you're worried, you're not thinking that you're gonna live beyond the next day. You make your decisions aren't really, they don't have a lot of forethought in them.
Yeah, because that's basically then the next point. It's not just the money, then they have the media, and the media, they are scaring you. So they say you, okay, there's the war coming and we have to protect ourselves of the enemy and whatever. And they always keep you in a type of frightenedness. So you're never like, yeah, I'm a free mind. You're always like, okay, I have to protect the country or whatever. And there is like crazy thoughts they put into your head. And if you're like always in this type of scary mindset, then they can govern you even harder, because that's type of the government structure, because it's way easier to just scare the people than to govern them by an army or whatever. If you just scare them, then you basically can control them. We have mind control. Yeah, so basically everything has to do with everything. So there is like the media machinery, then there is the food machinery. So they don't give you like food which is proper for human beings. They give you like sugar, and then your body is not working right. You cannot think right. Then you're scared. Your money is devaluated.
Do you think all of this is by design? To some degree?
I think the money is type of the root of the problem, and if you fix the root, then everything else gets fixed. So it's not.
So it doesn't even matter if it's by design. You just fix the money; it goes away.
I mean, lots of people try to fix it with politics. They try to fix it with other type of things, and that's also why I started the YouTube channel. Because before I was doing like retreats with people, I was doing like health things and whatever, and I just realized, okay, it's nice. But as soon as I'm dropping out of the equation, they are falling back to their old habits. They are just like not developing this type of sovereignty I was thinking about. And I realized, because the fiat money always keeps them trapped and sucks them in again. And so I realized
you ran health retreats?
Yes. So I made like not like big ones, but with certain types of individuals. So what I realized, as long as the money is not fixed, we don't have to discuss about politics. We don't have to discuss about other things too much, because the politics will always be corrupt, the health institutions will always be corrupt, the schools will be corrupt, like so many things will be corrupt, and you have to fix like the root cause. And this is what I learned into when I was going into health. You always have to go to the root cause of the disease, because nowadays we're just getting pills, but that's not causing the root. You have to fix the root, and if the root is fixed, the being is healthy.
100%. Man, dude, we could talk for like hours about, there's so many tangents.
Yeah,
right?
I know.
That's the thing. Like Bitcoin, because money intersects with all aspects of society, right? Like all aspects of society all of a sudden become interesting.
Yes.
Okay. And we got, how long are you here in El Salvador for?
I'm already like 2 years, but I was always like hopping on and off. So I'm basically most of the time, like half a year, 7, 8 months, something like that, I'm here. And then oftentimes I'm also like exploring other countries. Sometimes I'm going to visit my family, but nowadays I'm really not too much, attracted by Europe anymore, but still, yeah.
So, okay. So, man, we could do a whole series. And, you know, you're walking down the beach. I walk down the beach. I mean, there's going to be plenty of opportunity. But I'm curious, just to kind of keep this along your storyline.
Yes.
What's going on in Europe that you left?
Yeah, exactly. So then this was where we left the conversation. So then I came from South France. I went back to the Bitcoin hotel. So basically I just went back from the cave, and because at some point I realized, okay, I want to go back to civilization. So I was fine with all the flowers and the nature. So I wanted to go back to civilization. And then I was going back to the hotel. And then I was also helping in the hotel. And somehow the hotel attracted me, but I did not know why. But
can I just stop you? I'm curious here,
Yes.
just on a psychological perspective or a spiritual perspective.
Yeah.
How was it to go from like 2 years of kind of isolation and solitude to then working in the hotel industry?
It's like the most creative thing you can do, because also people, they think you get like a shock if you come to El Salvador. But for me, it's always the shock if I go back to Europe, if I go back to a city, if I go where lots of noise. I mean, it's also noisy here, but it's
a different type of noise.
It's a different type of noise. So this was super shocking in the beginning, but somehow I always was following my intuition, and somehow it brought me to the hotel. And from my perspective now, this was the best decision ever to leave the retreat and go to the hotel, because at some point I realized, okay, I have to do something different over there. So I just adopted like the first Bitcoin hotel in the world. So I just said to my mother and my sister, okay, we have to switch everything. This was also the Corona time. We have time to sit down. I explained them, okay, hey, we don't have to pay fees to Visa, MasterCard anymore. We just can do it by ourselves. And this just completely blown up. Like all the media was into the hotel. We had like big media coverage. Like we have the biggest conferences over there in South Germany. All the Bitcoiners coming there, Bitcoin themed rooms, Bitcoin. We even had Bitcoin coffee, Bitcoin cappuccino. We had the Satoshi bar. We still have it. We have like we had like a cooperation with Lena with the little hodler. We made like a Bitcoin little hodler. So we had like so many things over there, and it just completely fulfilled myself, because then I had Bitcoin and I realized the power out of Bitcoin, but I don't know how to.
Like when you say the power of Bitcoin, what do you mean? Like the network, the people?
Yeah, that's what the transformation behind Bitcoin, because you give them Bitcoin and they transform their lives.
And who's this?
It's the decentralized protocol.
No, but who do you give the Bitcoin to? Like, what are you talking about?
I mean, you're talking about Bitcoin, people realizing about Bitcoin.
Okay, yeah.
People getting,
like orange pills.
Okay. I mean, they're coming to the hotel, then they see the white paper, they walk across it, and they think, okay, what type of stupid thing is this? The second time they walk across it, the third time and the fourth time, they ask questions about it, and then you can explain them.
You know what? Yeah. This is interesting.
Yeah.
So I like this idea.
Yeah.
Like, I think that as human beings, we kind of learn through repetition and iterations and multiple touch points. And so I'm like a big fan of adding like Bitcoin lore and culture into what we do, just because I took my family to the Max and Stacy Golf Invitational recently to play pickleball. Pickleball is kind of a normie thing, right? But the fact that it was at a Bitcoin conference made them curious about Bitcoin. And it's like they have a really positive reference point to Bitcoin now. Like, oh, those Bitcoiners are awesome. I played pickleball at their tournament. We talked about like we talked about some really cool down to earth stuff and like anyways, I think it's cool.
Because you have to speak with the language of the people. Because Bitcoiners often they are like years ahead, and they are speaking like in their own type of language and
their own type of lingo.
And that's also why some people they criticize me, because on my YouTube channel I'm like, if you look on from the outside, then it's super clickbaity, it's super like speaking with the language of the people, but it's always about going to where the people are and then bringing them to a deeper type of realization. But you cannot just go to people, okay, let's take away the governments, let's shut down everything, and here is Bitcoin 21 million, let's do it. You have to be like a bit of smarter, so have smarter
You know what
ways.
It's called? It's called tact.
Yeah.
You gotta have tact. You gotta have strategy. You gotta be. You can't just like shove orange pills down people's throat. They'll reject them. You actually have to convince them to take it themselves. You know?
Yes. And it's the same with the hotel. It's the same with YouTube. It's the same with everything. You can be the best person in your art, but if you cannot bring it to the people, it's almost worthless.
Well, I think about that with writers.
Yes.
Like there's some writers that their ideas are amazing, but the way they communicate it, they might as well have not had the idea because nobody can relate to it, you know?
Yes. So. And oftentimes there are people that are super dumb, they are not even that talented, but they know how to market them, and and they just blow up, and that's also always this fine line you have to find. So, and this is also what Bitcoiners have to find, like different. There are different types of Bitcoiners. Everyone has like their own way, and so we can speak to people in our Bitcoin language, or we can go to them and speak in their language, and probably that's better. I mean, I'm not saying that we have to convince people because it's spreading anyway. So I'm not like saying that you have to change the world, because you can just change yourself, be an example for yourself, and by being an example, you will change the world around you. So I don't think we have to like orange pill like people like crazy, but I think at some point you just do it not to orange pill other people, but you do it because you basically do it for yourself, because this is like the most you can give to the universe. There is no higher work you can give to the universe than to bring the story to the people, because this has the biggest lever. That's also what I told you, because I was skipping like all the other things I did, because I just realized if we don't fix the money, if I'm not talking about this, if I'm not doing this, like I'm wasting my energy, because my energy has the highest potential into Bitcoin right now. And if the money is fixed, then we can talk about other things.
Man, this is really interesting. First of all, it's really inspiring. It's like a shot of adrenaline and motivation here talking to you. But like, it reminds me of kind of where I'm at right now in my journey. I used to go around with cards, you know, like, hey, you know, accept Bitcoin, cheaper than credit card, like all the benefits to it, right? And now I'm just like, I don't orange pill anyone. I don't convince anyone. But what I do is I'm just focused on being productive, adding value.
And you vibrating Bitcoin. If I look in your eyes, it screams Bitcoin, and you're vibrating it, and you're spreading it to the universe, and that's basically it.
Yes. So, and that's exactly what I'm talking about. So it's like leading through example.
Yes.
It's like I'm just going to be a very productive individual and provide a lot of value here in El Salvador. And if you want to work with me, well, I work on a Bitcoin standard.
Yes.
And I think just by having a positive, forward-thinking, proactive, constructive attitude, and that being my vibe, and then actually walking that walk by building out projects and working with people and doing things, like the right people are going to naturally gravitate towards me, and they'll just by being around me come to understand the value proposition of Bitcoin.
Exactly. And that's also the thing what lots of people don't get, because you're not manifesting things in life by willing. So lots of people are willing a lot. They want to win $1 million in the lottery or whatever, but you're basically manifesting by being. So if you're harmonious, if you're in love, if you're in peace, and if you're in a wealthy state of being, you always manifesting this type of wealth, this type of harmonious things, this type of love into the world. And lots of people, they are focused on goals, they're focused on some type of willpower, but under the hood, underneath it, they are not in a state of love, they are not in a state of peace, they're not in a state of wealth.
How did you get there? How did you get to that state? Was it your retreat? Was it looking inwards? Was it religious? Was it psychedelics?
You cannot get there because you already have it. You just forgot it.
Ah, wow, man, I'm freaking...
So basically everyone by nature is harmonious. Everyone by nature is full of love. Everyone by nature is like a super happy being. It's just people, they screw it up because they forgot about it, because they are too busy catching goals, or they're too busy being greedy of things, or they're too busy like hustling in a job that is not used for them or whatever. So basically it's about letting go. It's what we talked earlier. It's not about achieving, it's just about letting go and realizing what's there.
100%. Do you think that we're like conditioned and programmed at an early age? And then if we are, to what degree can we shed that conditioning and programming?
Yeah, we are completely conditioned, completely programmed. So on a subconscious level, and it starts already when we're growing up, because our parents are conditioned, the state is conditioned, the teachers are conditioned, so everyone around is conditioned. And that's also why I realized I have to go into a cave in solitude, because the thoughts I'm thinking are not my thoughts. It's not authentic thoughts. The mindsets I have in my mind are not from me. It's like from society, from family, from whatever. But I just took it from them, and it was never.
And you never vetted it.
Yeah, I never questioned it. I never asked questions. So I just took.
You did like a.
Yeah.
You did like an audit of,
yes, exactly.
of your thoughts.
Exactly. So you're just sorting out, okay, what is authentic and what is not authentic.
Wow.
And oftentimes then also people realize, okay, there is this inner governance. So in a state like that, it's almost weird that you have a government which is telling you what to do and what not to do, because you realize you have inner governance. So you are not like, because lots of people think, okay, if you take the government out of the equation, or if you take big leaders out of the equation, then people, they are just completely lost because they don't have someone who is governing them. And this is true if people are not self-aware. But people, if they are self-aware, they realize, okay, there's way higher guidance, and we can just tap into this. And I'm not saying, okay, we need like no governance or whatever. I'm just saying, okay, just question everything which is outside of you. Just question like all the noises, all the information, the media, everything which is written, everything which is spoken, even your own thoughts, your emotions, you have to question them. And then you have to find out, okay, what is out of this? What is the authentic thoughts? What is like the authentic like type of signals, and what is just noise? And you will just find out basically everything is noise. Basically everything you thought which is right or which is wrong is just like a mind-up story in your head, a made-up story in your head.
Yeah. And so then how do you go about constructing a new identity and like, hardwiring some new authentic thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's exactly the problem, because people think in terms of constructing. You have to let go of the constructing thing.
Okay.
Because as long as you're constructing, you have to think about where is the thought of the construction coming from, where is the goal of the construction coming from, and it's always out of your ego. So as long as you're like trying to push things in certain ways, you're never guided by your inner self. You're always guided by something which I call the ego, which is basically just a monkey in your head, which is telling you what is right and what is wrong, what is working, what is not working. And this type of consciousness is like super depressing, because the ego will always want more. If you achieve like $100 million, then you will 200 million.
It's never enough.
300. You will want the whole planet. It's never enough.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
Understood.
Yeah.
But you still have to have some type of identity, don't you? Some type of principles in which you kind of attach to and define who you are and how you operate.
But the principles are already there. It's just like you can easily find out, if you treat people with love, things will work out way better than if you treat people let's say, with anger. And so you will just find out, okay, you should basically love your enemies like you should love yourself. And this is like basic principles of the universe. So you're thinking in terms of principles. You're not thinking in terms of identity anymore, because the identity is always something you're making up. You're thinking in terms of principles, and you're just tuning into those principles. And also, if you look, all the big leaders, the spiritual beings, they basically just came down to those principles. So if you look like Buddha, he was saying, for example, we are all one. We are not separated. Jesus is saying, love your enemy like you love yourself. And basically, if you break it down, it's exactly the same teaching. So different people around the world, they found out there is like basic fundamentals behind everything, and we just should structure our life, our consciousness, our money around those principles. And if we look on Bitcoin,
I mean, these are the kind of laws of the universe, kind of thing like that. If you follow them, more than likely things will work out for you.
Exactly. And if you don't follow them, and it's the second, if we now use the money, if we have Bitcoin, Bitcoin is following all those laws. And fiat money is not following one single law of this. Because fiat money...
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
It's like, literally the world has been inverted. And if you think about inversion as being satanic, it's like, you could see the connection between fiat money and evil.
And basically, if you're buying Bitcoin, what you're doing, you're taking satanic energy and transferring it into
godly energy.
Yeah. Exactly. And that's basically...
Holy shit.
And if you realize this, then you realize probably one of the best things you can do is go into debt, take as much evil, satanic power, and put as much of this into Bitcoin. So this is because I always was...
So Sailor's correct when he says mortgage your house.
I think so. I mean, you have to have good risk management.
Yeah.
Don't overdo it, and probably don't go too crazy on the debt side, because Sailor has different type of debt than a private person.
For sure.
Yeah, but the idea is basically this: to take the satanic money out of the state, of the government, out of the evil powers who are controlling you.
You're transforming.
Yes.
Transforming the energy from negative to positive, from dark to light.
And it's that simple. If you break it down to first principle, it's not that hard.
Yeah.
And people, they are like explaining, oh, Bitcoin, and you have like, you cannot censor it and whatever. And it's all right, but it's not first principle thinking. It's...
What's funny is like, we've been robbed of our energy, of our light for hundreds of years. Now it's time to rob, that big amorphous blob of dark energy from its, like, from what it feeds off of.
It's a bit like the Robin Hood story. I mean, it's not exactly one-on-one, but Robin Hood was always like taking the money from the evil and giving it to the good. I mean, in the end, there is no evil and good, because this is also just a mind-up, a build-up in your mind. It's just a story in your head. But the idea is there to take like this low type of energy and transform it. And it's the same like with what you have to look at all aspects on your life. You just look, okay, where is anger? Then transform the anger into happiness. Where is fear? And transform the fear into self-sovereignty. Where is poorness? Transform the poorness into wealth. So you just look like all those aspects in your life, and you just basically transform like the poor energy into the higher type of energy.
Man, this got really philosophical quick, which is great. This is why I love El Salvador. But all right, getting back to El Salvador. Yeah. So you're in Europe. How are things over there? What brings you here?
Yes, exactly. Now we are in Europe. So Europe, it's basically a sinking ship. So it's basically, you can imagine Europe, and I'm really like not a negative person. I'm super...
I can tell. Yeah.
But Europe, you have to see everything is evolving in circles. So we have winter, summer, autumn, and so on.
Cycles.
Exactly. And you cannot go against those cycles. It's super hard to go against those cycles.
You're fighting against...
Yeah.
Like
it's
nature.
It's just fighting against the waves. It's better to go with the waves than to go against the waves. And what we're seeing now is like, we're seeing like monetary systems breaking down. This is like a first turning. And every time we have like those first turning events, what is happening? We have wars, we have civil wars, we have like
civil strife.
Yes, civil strikes. We have like people on the streets, people not being happy. governments going totalitarian.
And Germany actually has a history with this, with Weimar Republic.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So they've been already going crazy.
And if you read this book by, I forgot his name, but it's When Money Dies, right?
Yes.
The book When Money Dies, he talks about what happened over there after World War I and how money degraded society. All of a sudden people got desperate and they started making decisions like prostitution that they would have never made in their sound mind.
And we saw this already back in time when the Rome Empire was breaking down. We had like the same type of things where people were going crazy, then they started censoring, then they started capital controls, and it always starts with inflation. Then at some point, the people, they want to leave the system, they want to bring first the money outside of the system, and then they have to make capital controls. They have to shut down the borders. And that's also why I'm leaving earlier than later, because in the late stage of a first turning, you're not able to leave anymore.
I call it late stage Fiat. I even have a hat called late stage Fiat.
Late stage Fiat, it's the same.
Yeah, and it's when, and I take a lot of kind of my cues for how things are going to go based off a couple books. The Fourth Turning, one of them, but more so The Sovereign Individual. And, you know, they said that when the money starts breaking down, the system starts breaking down, especially now because things are so intricate now and complicated that if one part of the system breaks down, it's like there's a chain reaction that really creates a lot of havoc. And so part of what they predicted based off of all of this is that capital controls is going to be one of them.
I mean, it's not even a prediction. It's just like a logical like conclusion. It's not a prediction, it's a logical conclusion. If you look in history, it's a logical conclusion that the money at some point will break down, because statistically 100% I can say you that fiat money always dies, and then they're trying it again and again and again, and they're just giving it another name, but basically it's the same system. So we have like 100% evidence that capital controls will come and that money will break down. So it's not a prediction.
And it's happening right now.
Yes.
It's already happening. So, so you got out of there before shit really hits the fan.
I think so, because I mean, I think you can always, if you have a good consciousness, you can always even, Lao Tse once said this, if you like in a good type of consciousness, you can even walk through a cage of lions and nothing will happen to you. I mean, you can also have a good life still in Europe, but it's getting worse. And for me also, like the sun part was like a big part, like where here I feel like way better nature. I was always like addicted to good nature, to sun and whatever. And I just saw this basically as the even more powerful thing which brought me here. And at some point I had the sovereignty with Bitcoin. I realized, okay, I'm not trapped to Germany anymore. I can just basically go everywhere. And I already type of experienced it in South France, and I can also go to other countries. I'm not trapped in El Salvador either. But Germany, really, this type of energy over there is not like a fulfilling energy. It's like an energy that is really dark, that it's drawing you down. And even if you're like a super consciousness being, still there is like the mass consciousness, and it always will keep you down. So you're always meditating, for example, you're keeping the energy high.
You're trying to keep your energy high.
It's keeping you trapped, and it's keeping you down. And here you have like this type of other energy, the growing energy. Here things are growing, people are going in the right direction. It's not that everything is perfect, but people are going in the right direction. And I'm not here for the streets, I'm not here for the infrastructure, I'm not here for what is here. I'm basically here for what is not here, the invisible things. The invisible things is the energy. And this is something lots of people will realize because they come to El Salvador and they see, okay, the streets are basically not even that good. And sometimes the beaches, they are nice, but if you go to Costa Rica, there are nicer beaches. And yeah, there are volcanoes, but in other countries you also have like good countryside and whatever, and it's kind of nice, the nature is nice, but it's not like that you're completely blown off away when you come. Like first time you will be all, what is this in El Salvador? But then you stay here for some times, and then you realize it's not really about the visible things, it's about the invisible things.
Man.
So you're having like the safety here, you're having like the energy here, and it's really like this transforming place, and that's what's attracting me to El Salvador.
Yeah, that's so well said. And so that's what kept me here in a large part, is because, you know, El Salvador is hard, especially being an entrepreneur and trying to build a business, trying to navigate bureaucracy and the legal system, and just in general, antiquated systems that have been there from the past. Like everything, some things need a physical signature. A lot of things are done in paper, and so, and then El Salvador is beautiful, but to be honest, there's also
work to do.
Yeah, there's a lot other beautiful places and stuff like that. So, I when the IMF thing happened, I had to kind of wrestle with, okay, what do I do? Do I stay here because is the narrative still there? Because the narrative is what a large part of what kept me here.
But to be honest, if you stayed here just for Bitcoin, then in the first place you were already wrong. Because if you're just staying in a country for Bitcoin, probably that's a bad reason, I think, because you always have to have deeper reasons, like bigger conviction. That's at least my point of view.
No, and
because lots of people, they came just for Bitcoin and then they realized, okay, you cannot pay like in every shop with Bitcoin. I'm disappointed. I'm leaving. They're having like too much expectations or whatever. But it's somehow weird to just go to a country. I mean, I also came here for Bitcoin, but I stayed not for Bitcoin. I stayed for the nature. I stayed for the papayas. I stayed for the energy. And this is like the game changer. And I'm pretty sure. I'm curious what you think about it.
No. So I didn't come for Bitcoin because when we got here, Bitcoin, the only place that Bitcoin was a thing at was Zonte. And so we realized quickly, oh, that's not the story here. We came as Bitcoiners trying to tell the Bitcoin story, and we're like, oh, it's not even that big of a story, because the adoption wasn't what we thought it was. You know what I mean? But we came here for the energy, the people, the positivity, the friendliness, the hopefulness. And so, it was that.
But why did you struggle with the IMF?
Just because I was also trying to build a business here. I was going through, like a phase in my life where I wanted to be here. I wanted to be a successful entrepreneur and try to build something. And you have a thesis. And then so,
it's destroyed.
And then it gets destroyed. But you stay here, to your point. People like you. I come here to Club Cocal, which thank you, Will, for letting us use your place for a podcast here with Marc. But I come here, there's a bunch of entrepreneurs just hanging out, talking, and they're undeterred. They're unfazed. They're real like grassroots. Hey, we're gonna build this regardless of who's on board or not. We're going, we're here. We're committed. And it was that energy, that positivity. Like you said, it's like, where hopes and dreams are celebrated, they're not shot down, like perhaps in Europe.
Yes. Because in Europe nowadays, it's not worth working anymore. Because you're not incentivized to work, you're basically incentivized to pay on the government cost or whatever, to go like in social programs or whatever. So entrepreneurs are not welcome over there. Wealth is not welcome over there.
New ideas probably are not welcome over there.
They're like not censoring Bitcoin, but they are really regulating it super hard. So instead of opening up for Bitcoin, they are regulating it to death. Other countries, they are realizing, like El Salvador, also the US is opening up to Bitcoin. Europe, there is the saying, the US is innovating. China is copying, and Europe is regulating.
Yeah, that's the case.
And it's like, there's like let's say you have a race, and there's different countries. There's Europe, or Europe is different countries together. But let's say you take Europe, you take Russia, you take China, you take the US. And let's say we have a race, and it's like 100 meters we have to race. And then someone says, okay, now it's starting, the race is starting, and everyone is running in this direction. But Europe is running in this direction. They are basically not even competing in the race. They're running in the wrong direction.
I like I said, when you talked about letting go, one of the things about if I look back on the last 15 years of my life, because I've always had this understanding of how the world works, because I would attribute it to understanding money, but there was some other intuitions as well, right? Like I understood money really early on in life. And when you understand money, you understand society at like a root level,
But you understood it before Bitcoin?
Yes, I was a gold and silver bug.
Nice. Okay, I get it.
Yeah. And so, And so I've had this kind of understanding of the direction that the world was going, and this kind of understanding that there was like impending doom. So one thing that Bitcoin did give me was hope, because I was stacking gold and silver, but always
it's not a solution.
It's not a solution. You realize it quickly when you're carrying duffel bags full of silver, and you're like, how is this ever gonna work? And then you leave your bag behind because you got flustered, and you're like, oh my God, and you go back, and luckily the bag is there.
And you can especially see it now in the first turning. If people have to escape because there is war breaking out, they cannot do a lot with their gold. But with Bitcoin, it's always the question in a bad situation, with or without Bitcoin. Are you leaving with or without Bitcoin? If you're leaving with, then fine. If you're leaving without, then you're basically screwed.
Yeah. And so Bitcoin was a hope, and I forgot where I was going with it, but basically, yeah, like for 15 to 20 years, I kind of lived black-pilled, right?
Yeah.
And without much hope and fear and anxiety. As soon as I let go and said, I'm just going to control what's in my what's in my sphere, set up my environment to be as conducive to my health and I guess prosperity as possible. Life became a lot better.
Yes.
And then also I stopped trying to force things, and things just fell into place.
Yes.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, exactly. Because that's getting in the flow of life. So you're realizing if you're super living out of your ego, so if everything you forcefully and you're not chilled and everything, it has to be like this, it should not be like this. If you're living this type of life, then everything is super hard. And this is already a sign to yourself, because life cannot talk to you with language like we are talking. Life is talking you in form of pain. So if you have this struggle, if you have this type of pain, sometimes it's good, because sometimes life is challenging you, but you have to defer, because oftentimes the struggle, oftentimes the pain is a sign of your body, do something else, do something different. And then you realize, okay, maybe it's not all about struggling, it's not all about forcing things forcefully, but to just go like in a different direction. So if, for example, you're going in this direction and you're always having pain, struggle and whatever, but you could instead go in the other direction, and then it's going like a flow.
Sometimes just a few degrees.
Yes, exactly.
It's not even like a whole U-turn. It's like all you have to do is make one quick...
Sometimes it's just you go in exactly the same direction, but the perspective on the direction is different.
Yeah.
So you're not looking on, you're basically having the same job, but you're not looking on the job out of a greedy animal anymore, but you're looking on the job out of a thankful type of, let's say, tuned out person. And then it's a different type of thing if you're doing something with thankfulness, or if you're doing something like out of greediness. So sometimes it will bring you in a different type of direction, then oftentimes it brings you in a different type of direction. But sometimes it's just changing the perspective.
And you can just think about that in a practical way, right? You just...
and it's the same like with Europe. Lots of people have the perception, okay, everything is dying, bad. But I have the perception, I'm so thankful for it, because therefore it brought me to El Salvador. Therefore I developed new type of probably online type of businesses. Therefore I developed like this sovereign, decentralized type of lifestyle. So you basically should be super, super thankful, because everything happens for a reason. Nothing is there just randomly. You just have to be, like, tune out and not like always be like too tuned into what is happening to you.
Well, you know, it's funny when you talk about this. I'll open up a little bit. But like, I think I took a pause.
Yeah.
I was still the other day, and I just thought about my life now, and the friends that I have, the network that I'm forming, the stuff that I'm doing, how incredibly fulfilled I feel, how aligned my life is becoming. And I think about where I was 2-3 years ago.
Yes.
And I think about what life was like back then. I was going through a divorce, and there was a lot of pain. But you realize, like, the struggle, you know, going through that struggle and like facing it, and not, and is part of the process of becoming whole.
And you learn probably even more when you struggle than when you were not struggling.
Exactly. Yeah.
And sometimes you have to even forcefully put yourself into struggle, because it's always easier. For example, when we're going to the cave, because people say, oh yeah, you're having now this nice life and whatever, but they don't see like the build up for it. They don't see like the endless days of fasting. They don't see like the endless meditations. They don't see like all the struggle which is then coming out of your consciousness. Because if you're really going super deep, into solitude, it's not just that your past is coming out, it's probably even the past of your family coming out. It's like you're going into areas of your consciousness which you just put aside. You just like you're basically traumatized of life and whatever, you put it like in your subconscious, and then it's coming up, and basically our lives are designed to just push this type of struggle we have in your life aside, because we always use drugs, we use sugar, we use coffee, and we use alcohol, we use distractions, media, whatever. And if we put away this type of distraction, and this is also the funny thing about fasting, people, they never quit the fasting because they are hungry. They're always quitting it because the emotional buildup which will come up is too high, and the things they just pushed into their subconsciousness will come out to the surface, and you have to figure it out. You have to deal with it. It's a part of you. You have to let it go. You don't have to cling to it. Just realize it, let it go. And this is like a super, super big process. Most of the people never do this process. They will just always suppress it with like suppressors, with like, and the world is really made out of these suppressors. It's like a perfect world to just not focus on what's really like happening, but to just live like a life that is not authentic, having like a bad job, but then suppressing your life with stimulants like alcohol and drugs and whatever.
Yeah. It's an interesting thing that's happening in this world where so many people, I mean, I'm part of it too.
We are all part of it.
You know, yeah. I'm addicted to my phone. Yeah. I'm addicted to substances. Not that I have a problem, but like, and so I feel like the struggle to be pure is probably at the center of like humanity's plight, because we're always looking for escape. We're always looking for some type of reprieve from the suffering.
Yeah, and this is like the two types of directions you can really go with your consciousness. You can always go into more purity. You can go into more awareness, cleanliness, or like clarity, or you can go like more into distraction and
numbing.
Yeah, distraction is like into partying and whatever, and going into like not having clear thoughts and being like distracted and having lives that are not authentic. Or you can really go into this clarity where things are getting clear, where you're aligning with the universe, where you're not doing so much, but where you're more observing, where things are already fine, where you're like thankful, where you like.
So is that is that a state of flow, a state of nirvana? Is that kind of some type of state of enlightenment? Is it something that you achieve, or is this kind of just like a state of being? Like how should I think about it?
Yeah, it's exactly this. You cannot achieve what is already there. That's what I wanted to explain already earlier. You can just let go of what is not authentic, what is disturbing you, and then you're automatically over there. So this is your natural state of being. It's just we've been going away from our natural state of being, and this is probably also why.
Do we have this natural state of being kind of as kids?
Not just as kids as consciousness.
Okay.
So our human body is also just an expression of our consciousness. So bodies are coming and going, just like experiences are coming and going. And what's really mattering is not like the body. It's always like, okay, are you really tuned into this natural type of consciousness, in this natural type of state, or are you not? And if not, then basically what you're experiencing is just this journey out of this distraction and going back. It's not finding back to clarity, but it's like realizing yourself back to clarity. That's probably a better explanation. And I'm pretty sure that's also the reason why I'm here, because I want to experience, but my soul wanted to experience this journey of being into this distraction and then coming back to realization, seeing the light, seeing how everything is playing out. Because if you are in this, let's say, nice state of being, in this fulfillment, then you cannot experience that much, because it's basically just you're already fine. You don't have to do anything because you are already fine. You're not experiencing.
So are we all here because we got work to do?
I mean, I cannot say why you are here, but
okay.
but I think, and I would also not say there is like a meaning of life or something like that, because everyone is doing this meaning of life thing by themselves, so everyone can have like an individual meaning of life.
But there isn't a universal meaning of life.
I don't think there is a universal meaning of life. There is just experience you can. It's just an experience you can experience. Okay, that's basically also what Buddha said. Life is nothing you can achieve. Life is nothing where you can win. Life is nothing where you can like win where you can like finish something or something. That life is just something to be experienced, and you can just change. You can just decide: do you want to experience like the distraction, or do you want to experience like the more pure states? And most of the time it's like people are in this purity, and at some point they are getting bored, so they are by themselves forgetting. And if you're forgetting, then you're getting more into distraction, and then you can come back more into clarity and into.
So is it like an ebb and flow? Is it
yes,
like
it's like going out and going back, okay. And it's not about finding back, it's more about realizing back. And it's not that like an animal is worse than a human being, or a human being that is like not conscious is worse than a human being that is more consciousness. It's just different types of experiences, different types of consciousness. And it's really like you have to experience all types of consciousness in order to then decide, okay, where do you want to stay right now? And you can always switch right now. I can switch right now and can go back into super disturbance. I can go make party. I can go take drugs and whatever. I can get distracted. Or I can just decide to go more into solitude, to go more into purity, into love, into peace and whatever. And that's basically it. There is nothing to achieve. There is nothing to accomplish. It's just different types of consciousness, different types of energies, different types of experiences.
Interesting. Okay. So, all right, going back now to kind of like the practical world.
Yes.
You're in El Salvador. What do you think of the country? And yeah, so you've been here 2 years. And what advice do you have for other people who are looking at El Salvador, who are maybe in a similar position that you were,
yes.
with not happy with where they're at home, realizing their home country is going in the wrong direction? Was there any, I mean, do you see yourself kind of like as a citizen of the world, or was there any hesitation about leaving your family behind, leaving, your home country behind? What was that like?
Yeah, so first of all, I would say, don't escape your country, because I was already happy in Germany, but this was just like an upgrade. Because if you're escaping, it's always a bad motivation, because you have to imagine you're always taking yourself with yourself. So if you're having problems in Germany, you're having problems in El Salvador too, but probably the names of the problems are different. But you're taking your consciousness with you, you're taking yourself with you. So this is the first thing. Then what is the advice for other people? I would advise to not listen too much to the outside, but listen to your intuition, and then just do things and explore it for yourself. Because oftentimes if people criticize El Salvador, they've never been here. So you have to really experience.
Did you take an exploratory trip first?
Yes, yes. So I came here just for like 2 months or something like that, holiday, and then I realized, okay, I want to spend more time here. Yeah, and I'm also not saying.
And would you advise people to do that?
Probably for me it was super easy, because I already have had like a following, and wherever I go, people are texting me, okay, you can come here, you can stay there, whatever. And for me,
so it was easy for you to do that.
It's always like a disadvantage, so I cannot speak for other people. For other people, probably it's easy to, in the beginning, to have like an anchor over there.
Well, I would say then, in terms of, it was an advantage for you to be able to do that. Would you say
exactly. That? It was a disadvantage in relation to other people. So I had an advantage, and other people, they have like a bit of a disadvantage, but it has not to be, because you can probably just go to like an anchor. So probably don't come to El Salvador and go like to, let's say, don't start with Santa Ana, but start with El Sonte, where you have like other people around, other entrepreneurs, other Bitcoiners and whatever. And then from there you can go to probably other places.
Yeah. So like, kind of come here and figure out your landing pad.
Yeah.
Maybe already try to connect with people ahead of time and set yourself up so you're comfortable, and then, from there your time is already spent from a foundation. You know, we've already kind of.
And also, I would advise you highly to not go with your girlfriend, don't go with your family, but go with just yourself, go alone. Because just if you're going alone, you're like, you're sucked like into the areas where you should go to, because you're just in your own energy. And if you're going with a girlfriend, if you're going with a family, if you're going with friends, you're always in this group type of energy, and you're not always going where you should go, but you're always going where the group dynamic is going. So really, if you want a reorientation of your life, you should always travel by yourself, because just by traveling with yourself, you're going in the direction which is best for you, and otherwise it's always like a trade-off.
It's kind of like an initiation. So I see life and the challenges we go through, a lot of them like initiations. They kind of act as forcing functions, push you out of your comfort zone, and you have to kind of like step up and step up to the plate and kind of deal with whatever is thrown your way. And if you go with other people, you kind of have this comfort zone. You're right. You're less likely to start up a conversation with a stranger. And you just stay within this little bubble, and you don't actually experience what life is like here.
And also that's a good thing about El Salvador. You cannot make like just a club holiday or something like that. Because there is not like a tourist like type of holiday.
It's all rugged and rustic.
You have to go there, then you have to rent a car, you have to rent a bike, you have to explore by yourself. You cannot, I mean, now it's starting that they have like tours and whatever, but basically that's the good thing about El Salvador. It's really super basic still, and you really have to figure things out for yourself. And I know a lot of people that don't like it because they just want like the red carpet, and then they want to go there and say.
I like that there's a natural filtering process over here. Like no matter who you are, right? If you're like billionaires, like I'm assuming Max and Stacy. Or
they don't have the red carpet.
Or you're just a pleb. You know, we all drive the same roads. We all go to the same beaches. We all eat at the same restaurants. It's not like there's not like ivory towers.
There's no separation. If you're in El Sonte, then there's the billionaires, and then there's like the other guys. It's just like there is no high society and low society or something like that.
There's a feeling of togetherness here, like we're all in it together, you know?
And also like it's probably because it's super safe, because in other countries you need like the separation, because this high society, they need like the special type of protection. Because I tried it out several times, always when I'm driving with the scooter, I'm leaving like the helmet open, don't cover it and whatever. I'm always making those tests, and nobody ever is taking something.
Yeah, that's a good point. I do that as well. Like, you know, the whole canary in the coal mine thing, like you want to know where your limits and your boundaries are. And so I push them sometimes too, just to, in a way where my risk is mitigated. Right? But it gives me an understanding of the security level here. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah. And I saw this tweet from Bukele, and it was pretty inspiring, because he said, El Salvador has not one single no-go zone. And I thought about it, and I was like, can this really be? And I was thinking about it, and he was basically right, because in Germany, it's kind of safe, sure, but there are no-go zones. If you're like in a big city, in a certain type of area, you cannot go there by night, or if you're a woman or whatever, it's just, you don't go there. It's a no-go zone. And in El Salvador, I haven't escaped like one.
Let me ask you, what do you like about here?
I like the sun, I like the weather, I like the energy, I like the fruits, I like the friendliness of the people, I like the calmness of the people, I like that they have time. In Germany, they have everything, but they have no time. They have money, but they have no time. Here's the other thing around.
The different pace of life. And like us, man, we're having a 2-hour conversation randomly. I text you this morning and ended up working out, and it's kind of the priorities here are a little bit different.
You can just do things. I think that's the big meme of El Salvador nowadays. You can just do things.
And then there's people that will help you and support you doing those things too, because they want to see it. Because also, when cool things are built or done over here, like we all also collectively benefit. Like if somebody's gonna, if somebody's gonna open up a grass-fed a butcher shop, or somebody's gonna start selling raw milk, or somebody's gonna start selling honey, or open up some type of business, it's like you celebrate them, because it's like right now the market's so immature, that those businesses actually provide a whole lot of value because they're filling gaps.
And this is the opportunity because you can make this type of geo arbitrage. So you can take the wisdom and you can take the information you have from the US or from Europe. You can basically bring it here. And what is in Europe already super saturated, in El Salvador, there is no butcher. In El Salvador, there is no carpenter. There is no, I mean, there's a few restaurants.
And this is what I tell people too. You have a unique idea, and not even a unique idea. It might.
That doesn't have to be something special. It just has to be information that they don't have in El Salvador. And in El Salvador, I don't want to say they are stupid, but there is information, like lagging information in some types of areas. For example, they don't have like certain types of shops which we have in Europe, in Germany, or in the US or whatever, or the type of services which there is in Europe, US or whatever. And you can just bring this type of service, open it up here, and they don't have it yet. So you like the first
this is
mover.
what. So I'll give you an example. The other day I ate at an Argentinian steakhouse, right? And it was really good. We had a fantastic time. But since I got here and I have it posted on my Twitter, I said the first authentic Argentinian steakhouse in El Salvador corners the market, like crushes it. And that place is crushing it right now. And so it's like, it's actually true. Like there's first mover advantage here, like you wouldn't believe. And if you look at where the trajectory is headed, it's like, you know, if you're a young person with some skills or has a business idea, like you bring it over here and you figure out how to make it work, you have a long, like runway of success ahead of you.
But there is a deeper truth to it, because this is like the sunny side of it, and there is also a darker side of it. Because if you're working with local people, then you will have a super hard time if you bring the business from the US to El Salvador, because the payment is just not sufficient for you. So even the local people here, they struggle because El Salvador, they don't have like their own money. They have still like dependent on the dollar, and in the US they are printing it, and here they have to work for it. So if you used from a Western country, the payment and whatever, the payment here, the salary is way, way lower. So it's basically mandatory for you to either work together with tourists or have like an online business where you're making money outside of the country.
All right, that brings up a good point. So like the domestic market here isn't really strong enough to like actually maintain certain businesses. You may be way too early. But the other question I have, and I think about, because in a lot of ways this is a big social experiment. There's about to be a lot of capital flowing into El Salvador. You know, I always see it as kind of a race between like Bitcoin conscious capital and Fiat high time preference capital. Who's gonna win out? Are we gonna, you know, are they gonna, you know, pillage the land and extract all the wealth and value as they can out of it to flip things and get as much return on investment? Or, you know, are Bitcoiners gonna come here and provide some type of balance to that? I think we're gonna see both. But what's the balance like? And then the other question is, like, if that's the case and there's going to be all this influx of capital coming in, what kind of wealth disparity does that create? And how do you ensure, or not, maybe you can't even ensure, but how do you put some effort to making sure that like rising tide lifts all boats and the people of El Salvador are not disenfranchised? And
I think there will be suffering, and I think there will be problems coming up with this. And also nowadays I'm staying in El Sonde, and I'm already now saying, okay, El Salvador is nice. I'm probably staying 1 or 2 more years in El Sonde, and then I have to leave to another place, because then it will be too commercialized, because I can already see it, the big buildings building and whatever, and the grassroots feeling and the natural type of feeling is then gone, and then it's getting commercialized. And it has nothing to do with El Salvador. It has everything to do with the Fiat system, which is still like governing a bit El Salvador. And probably Bukele is doing a good job, but he is also still living like in this Fiat type of system, whatever. And when the money comes in, you always will have like the separation. You can already see it in El Sonde, for example, where the locals, they are now going out of El Sonte, and the rich people, they're going in El Sonte, propping up the real estate prices, and the locals are basically outpriced, and they are now going to other places. And this is what brings like friction, because then the locals in the beginning, they are happy, they're saying like, oh, the money is coming, but then they're realizing, oh, but I'm not profiting so much.
I'm getting outpriced, and then resentment occurs. and it's going to be interesting how this kind of all evolves. That's why, I mean, my hope is that Bitcoiner conscious capital comes in, because the projects that I think about and the projects that my friends think about who are Bitcoiners,
they're helping the locals too.
They think about how to bring the locals up with them. Versus like these big corporations who are just driven by the bottom line.
And I can see exactly this happening here in El Salvador, because a friend of mine, for example, he bought like a house, but then he was taking the owner, like there was like a local guy, and he just was living on the ground, but this was not actually his ground, it was the ground of someone else. But he had built his home over there, and he just took him as like a facility manager and gave him like a job. So he was integrating like the locals, and we can also see this happening in El Sonde with the Hope House and whatever. I hope this will keep up, because that's also the benefit of El Salvador, because it's not the shitcoin country, it's the Bitcoin country, and therefore you have like this consciousness type of capital.
Slow time preference approach.
Yeah, because
I hope, and you know what, I actually think that, you know, people like you, people like so many others in building El Salvador, who are Bitcoiners and think on a low time preference and think with this holistic, you know, awareness. I think that there could be a good coalition that forms here and at least provides suggestions and perspective. And that itself could be enough contribution to be influential here in how things shape up. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I think it has also a lot to do with how Bukele will manage everything. Because if he really can manage to make El Salvador to like a financial hotspot of Central America, then there will so much wealth be created here that there is no more poverty or whatever, because like it's basically just about free markets. Everywhere where you install free markets, things are growing up. And if you have free money, that's already like the best type of foundation. And we can probably the best type of free market can create it around free money. And we not even had this in other countries. So in Singapore or in Hong Kong or whatever, we also have like those free economic zones, or probably even in Dubai, but it's not founded, or it's not based upon Bitcoin. It's still based upon fiat. And even if you're doing it with fiat, it's already kind of working better than other countries who are not accomplishing like a free type of market. But imagine having a free market based upon Bitcoin. What type of prosperity can be created? And I probably cannot even imagine it. But this is like the other thing. If something happens to Bukele, I mean, and also like lots of people are criticizing him, but I think you have to see it like in the bigger context. Then it's really not like the worst thing he's doing over here. I can understand some points of critics, sure, but the thing I'm always concerned about, because still lots of things are dependent on Bukele. If Bukele is going away, if they're not having security here anymore, if something is happening. So there is like single points of failure. It's not like it's a decentralized structure that Bitcoin, you have like those central points of failure, which can fail. Right now it's looking good, but it's not like that everything is already made up. It's still like a long journey to go.
Yeah, and I think that's a good place to leave it at. You know, the future kind of here is being written in real time, and you know, it's the participants. You have an opportunity right now to write your names on the walls of history of potentially a renaissance. And in my opinion, you know, you say nothing's certain, but I think
the probability is high.
The probability is high enough that it's worth it. Like you look around the rest of the world.
It's just like picking a stock, risk to reward. It's pretty good risk to reward ratio.
Exactly. So before we go, Marc, you want any words of wisdom you want to leave?
I would say probably what I learned out of this conversation was just explore, don't think about too much, just follow your heart, and basically that's it. Nothing special, nothing complicated.
I like it. Well, thanks guys for tuning in. This is Marc. It was a great conversation, and I'll see you on the next one.
If you want more, you can check out my social media, and you can check out my YouTube and whatever.
I mean, look, I think that we should have more conversations. I mean, you built up a YouTube channel,
Yes.
2 million views a month.
Yes.
Right, 50,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
You go around Germany, you walk the streets, people are coming up to you,
Yes.
and you're like a local celebrity. And so I think that there's a lot to learn there from the business side. There's a lot to talk about El Salvador more, even like philosophically and in terms of spirituality and getting into the esoteric stuff. Like just so many threads we could pull on.
Yes,
So
it's a whole rabbit hole.
so hopefully we can have more conversations.
Yes, sure.
All right.
Thank you. Awesome.
You got it.
See you guys.